Well, welcome to Abuja this beautiful Tuesday morning. Hazy atmosphere, cool temperature. My name is Mwabozen Joko, and there is a reason for the conference, a big reason this morning. Before we interrogate that reason, let me welcome my guests, my gang members. On my right is Tochukwu Korie. Tochukwu Korie is the Chief Executive Director, Provocate Transparency and Accountability Project. Tochukwu, you're welcome to the program.
Nice being here again.
And on my left, I have Alpha Jardine, my brother and media consultant. Alpha,
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so
I said there is a reason for a conference this morning, a major reason for a conference. The story all throughout the weekend was a PDP national convention held in Ibadan, Oyo State. They call it Ibadan 2025. And it was called the PDP Elective Congress. Elective Convention. Now, before that convention, there were a series of court cases. Two groups from the southeast had gone to court. Their grounds was that the processes leading to that advertised convention was going to deny them opportunity to participate because no congresses have been held in their areas. And court said it was not interfering with the internal affairs of PDP, but it was trying to enforce what is provided for in the Nigerian Constitution. And the court went ahead and barred the PDP from progressing with that convention. A few days, a day or two, in fact, a day before the convention, the former governor of Jigawa State, Lamido, also went to court and obtained a court order stopping that convention because there was no level playing field, as Lamido told the court. He was not allowed to buy form. He had the right to contest. He was denied all those rights. So there were legal obstacles to that convention. Somehow, an Ibadan High Court, Oyo State High Court in Ibadan, gave an expert order opening the gate for the PDP to go ahead. So they went ahead based again on the court order. We're not going to discuss because these courts are courts of concurrent jurisdiction or coordinate jurisdiction. Yes. We're not going to get into that this morning. It's for the lawyers when they come here to interrogate. Just as we are talking now, the national headquarters of the People's Democratic Party is abuzz with activities. The security operatives have taken over the place. Traffic is snarling, and you think that this is going to be a war zone. What's happening? PDP National Executive Committee is holding a meeting. In other words, this morning's conference is because of two PDPs, Ibadan PDP and Wadata House PDP. Gentlemen, can we begin by interrogating first the Ibadan conference? Can we? In the Ibadan conference, a number of very strong resolutions were passed. Most critical, the expulsion of a number of stakeholders from the party. The FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, was expelled by that convention. Delegates. And the PDP says that is the highest authority of the party. highest authority of the party, having taken a decision, officials of the party just have to obey the convention, National Delegates Convention. Peter Fayoshe, the former governor of Ekiti State, was expelled. Alongside, they did not expel the National Legal Advisor, but they expelled Senator Sam Anyanwu, the National Secretary of the party. They then affirmed a substantive position for Damagum as the national chairman of the party. But do not forget that the tenure of that regime ends in December. In other words, from now to December, Damagum will be acting substantially as national chairman of the party. The convention then went ahead and elected a new national chairman who will take over at the expiry of the tenure of Damagum and very many officers. Gentlemen, I do not know when I can remember all the governors who were there, but I happen to know that the governor of Adamawa State, who is the chairman of the National Convention Organizing Committee, Fintiri, was there. The former governor of Akwa Ibom State, Udom Emmanuel, was there. The governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mufwan, was there. The governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, was there, alongside some other. Then the chairman of the BOT, Fubara Wambara, was there, and elder statesman George Olabode George of Lagos State was there.
Jerry Ghana was there.
Jerry Ghana, okay, he didn't feature prominent. Then Senator Ben Obi was also there. Gentlemen, something happened in the course of it, and that's where I want us to begin from. The very chairman of the PDP National Convention Organizing Committee and Adamawa State Governor, Umaru Fintiri, shortly after the convention had reached a number of resolutions and adopted them, now, can I say unanimously, I mean, I'm wrong, issued a statement dissociating himself from, in particular, the expulsion of a number of people, including the FCT minister. Then suddenly, 10 minutes after, Muftuan also issued a statement dissociating himself from the same resolutions. Gentlemen, I want to begin with you. With this trend I've established, what do you make of that Ibadan Convention?
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome viewers. It is going to be very difficult to discuss this Ibadan Convention without reference to the legal groundwork, the legal spadework.
Precedences.
The precedences, ahead of it. Because whatever is done in Ibadan will eventually stand or not stand depends largely on how those court decisions will eventually play out. Because as they say in law, you can't build something on nothing and expect it to stand. All right? So if indeed the court sitting in Ibadan, if their order prevails over the orders of the Federal High Courts, which had restrained PDP from going ahead with the convention, so be it. So, and all of that. But at the end of the day, this is Nigeria. So nobody can predict how the pendulum eventually swings. So that said, I was saying off camera that the soul of PDP is what is in contention. And it is in contention because one side or one faction wants the PDP as a vehicle for contesting elections, which is what a political party ought to be. Now, the other faction may not necessarily be looking for a vehicle on which to ride for any elective purpose, but they're looking for the soul of PDP as a negotiating tool, as an instrument to negotiate their way into either the current government or some other government subsequent. All right. So that is what is going on. Now, as to whether or how the governor of Adamawa and the governor of Plateau, I want to say that they are within their rights. However, their dissociation from the decision of the convention has zero effect on those decisions. It cannot. Their personal position can never vitiate the decision of the convention, and rightly so, because the convention is the highest organ of the party, and whatever it ratifies is deemed final. There is nothing else. So, if indeed that convention in itself eventually comes to stand, it means then that the FCT minister and co, Ayofayoshe and so on, they stand expelled. They stand expelled. There is nothing else anybody can do. But of course, the battle has just begun, in my view. Of course, shortly after a NEC meeting was convened by no other than the National Secretary, the factional National Secretary, now you want to say, Senator Sam Anyang, sorry. And one will not know now who is in possession of the PDP National Secretariat as we speak, whether it is the FCT Minister faction, FCT Minister-led faction that is in possession, or the Damagu-led faction. I want to say Damagu-led because I know there are governors behind him. There are governor of Bauchi and governor of Oyo. At least one can say authoritatively, the Damagu has their backing, for the office he presently occupies. So it's a ding-dong
affair. So he says, if depending on how the court cases play out,
that's right,
if they play out in favor of the Damagu-led faction, then Wike and Co act out in the cold. If the court processes play out in favor of the Wike-led faction, then these gentlemen are out in the cold. He said he didn't know who was in control of the National Secretariat or the party. I just want to tell our viewers that I know that as we are talking now, the police has cordoned off the PDP National Secretariat because the Wike faction is holding a National Executive Committee meeting. How else does a person take possession of the National Secretariat or the party? But a meeting is going on now.
There's no gainsaying that we're in very interesting times. Interesting times, but not within the best of happenstances. If you look at what is happening within our democratic sphere, I must tell you, I find same very sad. Opposition politics is one thing, our democratic experience is another. are we deepening democracy after these years of uninterrupted, democratic rule? Even though some will want to argue that it's basically civil rule. I passed by that secretariat about an hour ago, and as you just said, that place is heavily policed. The secretariat is cordoned. But when I say cordoned, I will not be telling Nigerians that they won't let people in. But as at the time I drove past that place, the security presence was very, very high. I woke up feeling very sad because of where we are. The People's Democratic Party is a party I once had sympathy for. But looking at how those that took control of that party, beyond the founders of that party, are running the affairs of that party today, sure leaves a lot to be desired. You will tend to wonder what went wrong. Was it party politics? Is it lack of internal democracy? How come a few persons will decide to be so powerful that they will literally wrestle the soul of Africa's once largest party? That indeed they did boast that they were going to rule for the next 60 years. They didn't go beyond 16 years, but the party, as it were, many would want to certainly say is, observing its service of songs. The party indeed may be laid to rest very soon. And for people like myself and for many other Nigerians, all we can do is sit down and mourn the People's Democratic Party.
Well, the Democratic PDP is not going to the morgue yet. That is what the two factions are saying. Each faction says it is the authentic faction of the PDP. A National Executive Committee meeting is holding now, and it is called the National Executive Committee meeting of the People's Democratic Party. Tochukwu, is it just that PDP stakeholders and officials are not understanding themselves and therefore have failed to manage their party well and now find themselves in crisis? Or indeed, is it that interests extra PDP, outside of PDP, are toying with the soul of that party?
Well, those two positions quite potent and valid. You cannot rule out external interference. It is just not possible in politics. Okay, at every given time T, there's always someone somewhere who is working against your interests, because this is
power game.
Power game, as it were. So no good politician will just be satisfied sitting in the comfort of his own home, rallying his own team and then just
for nothing,
just moving ahead without, even in football or in other games, you try to understand what your opponent is doing
and undermine the strategy.
How to undermine. So these are strategies. So it is not out of place for one political party to want to undo another one way or the other.
Let me be issue specific to Korea. When all these 8 years Buhari was in power and PDP was in opposition, PDP did not find the umbrella shredded the way it is today. The moment Tinubu became the president of Nigeria, it appeared that a new force descended on opposition parties. And I can count them. Labour Party is irreconcilably torn into two. They seem to be thoroughly irreconcilable. 2, PDP seems also to be irreconcilably torn into 2. And these are two strong opposition parties that could have given Tinubu a run for his time and money in the next election.
Yeah.
Now, when they cannot gather themselves together, they cannot give him that run. Is it possible, therefore, that Tinubu's strategy seems to be pick up each party, tear it into shreds, leave it inoperative, go to the next one, tear it into shreds, leave it to be pretentiously alive, while you gather all the followership in the political turf?
I mean, you couldn't put it any better. The truth is, if you were in Tinubu's shoes, would you not do exactly the same? And that is saying that the first rule of the game, the power game, is self-preservation. However you do it. Now, in politics, people don't take prisoners. So the ultimate end game is self-preservation.
So let the casualties go.
Yeah, of course there will be casualties, and nobody gives a damn, who gets into the line of fire.
So PDP can as well be a casualty.
Well, however, the other side of the coin is, how did this all begin? You were talking about the Buhari era,
yes,
and what changed.
Yes.
The seed of what is happening today was actually sown pre-2023 election. As a matter of fact, yes. As a matter of fact, the National Convention of October 30th, 2021, which held in Eagle Square, was where this entire thing began. The inability of PDP to get the zoning formula correct, to get it right at that point, is what created the loophole that maybe, if you say Tinubu, maybe that is what Tinubu is exploiting, that loophole. Okay? Now, because had everything gone all right at that level, at that point, it would probably have been impossible for the party to so unravel as it has done. And who knows, maybe they would even have been able to clinch power, and be in control of Aso Rock as we speak. But that didn't happen. But not only that it didn't happen, the process that threw up Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as the flag bearer of PDP in that presidential election also left a whole lot of pain, in the heart of a whole lot of people within the system, within the party. And if I want to put it that way, it is possible that it is the ghosts
of that failed convention, that contentious convention.
Yes, that contentious convention that produced that article. That is what is haunting PDP as we speak. That is what is haunting PDP as we speak, and anybody else can exploit that loophole to further, to sink PDP even deeper in a mess.
Alpha, if a prophet manages to exercise a spirit, the patient should at least be whole.
That's right.
Now, Atiku Abubakar, who is the spirit that injected division, has been exercised and is gone over to ADC, yet the PDP patient is not whole.
Sadly. Well, he just made a very valid point. But can we also say that was what befell the Labour Party? Because, in your analogy, you did talk about Labour and then you talked about PDP. Even the PDP...
I can only speak to PDP as it is.
It's, it's our talking point this
Yes.
morning. The bottom line is, yes, as a politician, you do all you can to survive. But it goes to tell you that there is so much that is wrong within the system. I initially did talk about the place of internal democracy. One thing I didn't mention was the place of ideology. You know, the saddest aspect of this whole imbroglio is the fact that it's the people that are left to wander amok. It's the people that are left without a choice. It's the people that, whether we like it or not, is a democratic experience and their voices does not matter. Because ultimately, these are the fallouts that, going down the road, we will experience in Nigeria. Looking at the gale of defections, as it were, you have not only literally emasculated everybody into one party, what you have succeeded in doing is even seeing that you have decimated the opposition to a point that it is gasping for air. It's so sad, Chief, because you did make mention of the fact that when Buhari was in power, it wasn't the case. We once had a general who ran this country under the democratic dispensation. I'm talking about General.
Yes, Obasanjo.
There was an election that took place in the FCT. Nasser El-Rufai was the minister at that point in time. The APC took 3 local governments. What do we call them?
Yeah, local councils.
The PDP took 3. You know, it looked so nice.
APC or ANPP?
It was one of them, you know.
ANPP. There was no APC at the time.
But whatever,
Yeah, there was no
it
APC.
it was 3-3
Yeah.
at that point in time. But where are we today? Looking at the gale of defections, are Nigerians even worried about what might happen in the possible near future? I am very concerned about the fact that even the APC that everybody is running to, if we are not careful, the implosion that may come out of it may even consume the perpetrators.
Let us leave them. Tochukwu. Before we came on air, we had this piece of information that the entire Taraba State House of Assembly has emptied into APC. Now that I have raised the specter of shred, take away, shred, take away. PDP in shreds. All its major stakeholders are now carrying the broom. Those who are not carrying the broom remain in PDP as fit columnists, working against themselves.
Yes.
Now, Taraba, the entire state assembly, emptying.
And the governor is joining.
That is just ahead
I
of.
hear that the governor may defect today.
That's ahead of today's event. It's a scheduled event. It's not a matter of.
I hear.
You know, I hear or conjecture. You know, there's nothing to conjecture.
It's programmed.
Colonel, what's his name again?
Kefas.
Abu Kefas, executive governor of
Taraba
Taraba State, today will make public declaration for APC. Okay, so ahead of that is the foot soldiers, that is the state assembly members.
Legislature.
You know, they had to,
ahead.
as an advanced team,
Yeah,
they had
no,
to go.
they joined the Baptists.
They had to go as advanced team to APC. So that is what's going on in that respect.
No, can I please? Because while you talked, I went a little grave on my face, because what is our politics under Tinubu turning into? Please, sir. If our entire, look at how it began. Delta State emptied. Akwa Ibom emptied. Enugu has emptied. I can tell you that if not for the chairman of APC, who's preventing one from defecting, the entire plateau would have emptied. Now Taraba is emptied. Can we understand what's happening to our politics? Is politics not about producing people who will govern and improve the welfare of the people and keep our development progress on a steady keel?
Well, that,
or is that something I don't understand?
no. That's the ideal. Yeah, that's the idealistic way of looking at politics.
So what is that on?
The ideal is different from the
Reality.
the reality. The reality is, like I said before.
This is our reality.
Yeah, unfortunately so. Like I said before, people are interested in surviving. That's one. But again, you will not rule out the possibility of arm twisting. Now, that also talks to the idea of the carrot and the stick. The game of power has no room for sentiments. And then, if you have something that you could be blackmailed with,
it's all part of it.
Then it's all part of it. That's the game. So most of the people defecting probably has one Achilles heels or another,
and the man just
and
touches,
somebody somewhere
touches the raw point.
is just busy using a god, using a something to be constantly hitting on that. So there's something here that you need, you're not taking care of, and that is why you look at, you look this way, you look that way, and then your only option is to jump in, headlong, and because ordinarily some of the defections don't make sense. You are a second-term governor. You are not running for governorship election again. Okay, so what's chasing you out of your party into a different party? And of course, we know that the Senate is like a retirement home for governors who have done 2 terms. Now, and if that is your interest in returning to Senate, and you're not confident that the party you are
can give you a ticket and you win,
ticket and all of that, so maybe that is what is playing out, So people really want to stay within the power equation, stay relevant, and that is what is happening all over the place. Let me also say that nobody in his right mind will ordinarily want to sink with a sinking ship. I mean, if you knew how to save yourself from the Titanic when it was sinking, you did it. I don't know. I think there was a few survivors from that.
I just can't understand.
So now people are looking at a sinking Titanic, okay? And the only option left for them is to jump out. Sometimes without even
a lifeboat.
Thinking exactly, without lifeboat, without life jacket, without anything. They just jump out, just to have a chance at surviving. And here we're talking about political survival, remaining within the power equation. That's what's important, because 2 things are happening. It is in this country that, I was just thinking about it a little while before we came on set. In other climes, people will serve their tenure and maybe retire to a private life. Some might even
go back to their businesses,
go back to what they were doing. Some who were lecturers, university lecturers, they will go back to the classroom and all of that. But that has never happened here. I mean, let me be a little personal, if that is permitted. Somebody like late Dr. Bonne was an ace academic.
An ace academic?
All right. First class academic. All right. And one thought that after his brief stint as governor in the old Abia State,
yes,
the natural thing one expected was for him to go back to the classroom, where he was a king, as a matter of fact. University of Port Harcourt, my alma mater, by the way, revered honor, as it were. Now, but the problem is you have a taste of a different quality of life, a different standard of living, a different style of living, okay, and then you get stuck. I don't know whether to call it a bait. You know, you swallow it, you get addicted to it, and it is now very difficult for you to readjust,
to go back to who you were,
to your normal life. So the quest to continuously remain within that corridor of power becomes inordinate,
so intensely
and intense. So people now do whatever it takes, whatever at all it takes. And somebody was, my colleague Jagdin was talking about, the people. Who gives a damn about
that's what I'm coming. That's
the
key I want. I was going to raise that question.
Who gives a damn about the people?
That who gives a damn about the people? Nigerians watching us from wherever this morning have got to know that the politicians who come canvassing for votes don't give a damn about them, and therefore they come to cajole, to cause them to be in rain, in sun, to cast ballot, to put them in a position that only services their individual interests and status.
I like the very point where my dear brother here landed. The bottom line is, who are you holding power
for?
You are actually holding power and thrust for the people. So where the people are no longer part of the equation, you have no business being there. That is on the one hand. Secondly,
no, that's how it should be.
That's idealistic. That's why I said this.
No. You see, whether it is realist, whether it is idealistic, power is what power is. Power is the ability
to be used in the interest of man people. In that environment in which you are.
That is why some of us will really clamor for, okay, we would rather go with the democratic experience than give credence to the barrel of the gun.
Yeah.
There are different forms of power. It could be theocratic, it could be democratic, it could be military.
That's why we're asking for democracy.
That is why we're asking for democracy. So if the people are truly not within the equation,
then there's a challenge.
It's not being idealistic. Then there's a major challenge.
There's a challenge.
With due respect to the late elder statesman, I had an opportunity of meeting him once. I never knew he was in the academia. But I was very impressed after interviewing him. When I left his presence, I was like, wow, this is one politician that is different. If you look at somebody like the late Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, let's not forget, he was in opposition all along before he became Minister for Science and Technology. Now, let's not forget that Dr. Onu had his eyes on the presidency.
Yeah. So
he wasn't in a hurry to go back to the lecture room. I want us to look at these things and try to, decipher them the way they are.
Gentlemen, I am looking at the watch. As you continue making your presentation, I want to reach our correspondent,
yes,
who is at the Wadata House right now, because he's supposed to give us a situation report into this program. Jagdin, continue. Let me try and reach him.
Very good. So, as it were, the people are still at the center of the equation. And where the people have been emasculated, I'm afraid we should start looking at the caliber of those we call political leaders. I don't want to look at issues from whether it is the realist perspective or whether it is idealistic. The people should be at the equation. If you look at where we are today, the man who is at the helm of affairs, I'm talking of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he was always in opposition. He never defected. All we saw was mergers left, right, and center, right up to where we are today. Are we there? See there? So, if Tinubu didn't have his eyes on the presidency, probably he would have been gallivanting around like what people like Atiku Abubakar did, and people like Peter Obi. It shows that there is desperation for power. But if the power desperation is all for the individual, that is the problem. I have a problem. That's where I have a problem with the whole thing. If you're not coming to serve the people, please stay wherever you are and continue your business. Mind the affairs of your family. It may sound idealistic.
No, the point is, we are trying to explain where we are. That's, I'm not. What we are trying to do is to explain what's going on with PDP what is happening today. And that is why I said the reality of our circumstances today is what is happening in PDP. And not just in PDP and with other political parties, the power game. Now, the other side of it is, what use are you to the people if you don't have power? What use are you as a politician to your people if you don't have access to power? So the very first rung of the ladder is for you to grab the power, and then you can then look to the people. But while you are chasing the power, the last thing on your mind is, who is behind you or who is by your side. I want us to understand it from that perspective. The point is, you want to be in power in order to, whatever good intentions
you have for the
people,
you have to grab the power
first and foremost. In Igbo land, we say that you get the land before you struggling for math.
Chief, beyond the fear of thinking certain things are idealistic, why is it that we don't discuss these things within the precinct of what makes A and what makes B? I will still insist, looking at where the PDP is today, looking at where opposition politics, because that is actually what the thrust of our discussion this morning is, looking at where opposition is today, opposition is not supposed to be there. If at all, truly power belonged to the people.
Now let me take a key from here, Tochukwu. Even in the power game, does the man holding the power, does the group holding the power not value alternative thought as even a means of delivering on the expectations of the public?
That's right.
Doesn't it have alternative thought, value alternative thought, which of course opposition provides? Does it want to listen to itself, just hear itself?
Because that's where we're headed.
That's not where we are headed. That's where we have always been.
It has not always been like that. I wouldn't agree with you. No.
That's where we have always
we had
been.
a vibrant opposition in this country.
Where we have been is where the opposition is to be seen and not heard. And with due respect, even from the days of Obasanjo, the moment AMPP failed to win any significant position, it went silent, maybe not dead. In fact, it was in coma until the merger happened.
No, but don't forget there was some kind of coalition. There was some kind of coalition. Members.
Yes, let me remind Kore. This president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a beneficiary of the loud noise of opposition.
That's right.
Which was never quenched. He benefited from the vibrancy of opposition
that was allowed
to
fester.
And it was that opposition on whose platform he stood to air his position, to speak to the issues in the polity, that made him a conspicuous contender in national politics.
Right to the
video. Now, Tinubu has a credential. He has a democratic credential. And that arose from the fact that when he was in opposition, his voice was not subdued, his membership was not torn apart, his party was not undermined. He is now holding the knife and is busy, apparently.
Well,
cutting down trees.
Let me say that what you are making reference to is a situation of the government stifling opposition voices, which is debatable in a lot of ways. I mean, I know that people have gone to the streets since Tinubu became became president. What I'm trying to say is, it is not entirely correct to accuse
the president
of
the president's team
of being intolerant of opposition, because he has not gagged anybody. I mean, what I'm trying
we are speaking.
I mean, we are speaking, and the media has not been
all on his side,
and all of that.
But
so
I want to just
the point is,
between 1999 and 8 years thereafter, 2003, on which party did Tinubu run?
Let me explain something to you. There is a Sheikh Umadi somewhere,
yes,
who keeps speaking, and leading his own opposition, as it were. All right. Now, nobody is throwing him into prison for doing so. If tomorrow Sheikh Umadi wants to contest for office, and maybe he contests and wins, he becomes another Tinubu, another example of what you're talking about. I'm saying that to say that there is the power game, okay, is such a game that you do whatever you want to do in order to stay in power. Because it is while you are in power that you're able to do anything for the people.
Okay.
So when I said, let me explain something that was taken out of context. When I said, who cares about the people, it doesn't necessarily mean that the people don't count at the end of the day. But while you are chasing power, you are focused on getting to the seat first. That is what counts. So those who are defecting, which is where we're coming from.
Yes.
This is where all this question is.
All self-preservation.
It's all about preserving themselves within the corridor of power, so that they will be in a position tomorrow to do whatever in their mind they want to do for the people.
Gentlemen, my producer says we have only 2 minutes more.
Yes, can I just say something?
There's an issue I want you to address, please, very quickly. Gentlemen, I hope you don't mind. And that is, will PDP survive? Korea.
It depends on what you mean by survival. We have at least 17 political parties.
Okay.
Are they surviving?
That's the question.
No, you should answer the question. They are there,
but they're not surviving.
I don't know whether they are surviving or not.
On the list.
So whether you are talking about PDP being on INEC list, or whether it will be expunged,
it will be on the list.
so it depends on what you call survival.
I think we're being euphemistic.
PDP will definitely remain on INEC's list, no matter the innuendos.
But will it count in national elections?
Eventually, it may be revamped. Eventually, it may wake up. Eventually, it may even come back to take its pride of place. I was actually trying to make a point, but somehow I
skewed you out of it because I wanted this question addressed.
Very good. I've remembered now. You see, this gale of defections are happening unabated because with every sense of sadness in my heart, the people's vote does not count. If the people's votes were to count, people that are in their second terms, even if they want to go to the Senate or they have their eyes on the presidency, this or that, I can assure you
that deflection will not buy them.
It will not buy them. No, at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, they can afford to do that because they know that ultimately
somehow they want to get there.
No, they will get there, but they know that the votes of the people don't count.
Okay, but that this morning we are talking about PDP. Just remind our viewers as we conclude that as we are talking now, the PDP National Executive Committee meeting is taking place at the Wadata House, that is the National Secretariat of the PDP in Abuja. And that means that after the convention, the convention of last Saturday, during which a number of critical decisions were taken, expulsion of certain officers of the party, including the Minister of FCT, Yeson Wike, Fayoshe, the former governor of Ekiti State, and a number of others. And this morning, a governor of Taraba State, Kefas, is expected to defect to the APC. What is happening to PDP? Will it survive? As the NEC meeting takes place, but the meeting took place, which PDP do we have? Kore says the course may determine. Should the judiciary be determining how our parties progress, political parties progress? Judiciary is a technical institution of law. Political parties are associations of people who have a clear idea or ideology of what they want to do with power in the interest of the people. Do both walk the same trajectory? With PDP stand? None of my colleagues this morning wants to wager a definite answer. They don't want. They think it's a very risky situation. All they can do is to wish PDP well. Corey, do you wish PDP well?
Well, I wish PDP what it wishes itself.
Yeah, another euphemism. Do you wish PDP well?
I wish the PDP well, and I wish the opposition mantra in Nigeria well, because we need it if our democracy is to be deepened, if our democracy is truly to serve the people.
Okay, at least he says, let PDP survive as a political party. Maybe it will help democracy in Nigeria to grow. This morning we'll be conversing on two PDPs in one PDP. The Badon 2025 PDP concluded its national convention with critical resolutions. And this morning, the Abuja PDP in Wadada House will come out with also strong resolutions. Those resolutions will bring them to you today in our other programs. For this morning, we want to thank you for investing your time with us. My name is Wabos Njoko. Let me thank my two colleagues, Tochukwu Korea and Alpha Jagdin. Gentlemen, thank you for coming to the program.
Thanks for having us.
Please, can we ask you to go out, enjoy yourself? This is our own springtime. We're not in Europe. We're enjoying good weather. Just go out and enjoy yourself and have a great day. Good morning.